Hello, my name is Nadia Sean, and today on Moment of Truth, we have a wonderful privilege of introducing to you Dr. Gatti. But before we start the program, I'll introduce my co-host, Dr. Prissy. Will you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again tonight. We are happy to come to you again on our regular Thursday night. I'm Dr. Prissy Constant, and we can't wait to get digging into our topic tonight.
Yes. So we have with us Dr. Gatti, who is a wonderful, wonderful resource to have. And today he's going to talk about a very endear topic to us. So we'll let Dr. Gatti introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself before we really dig it into our topic today. So Dr. Gatti, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. I'm glad to be back here. For most of your audience might have, met me here before, but for the sake of them that have not seen me before, I will introduce myself. My name is, of course, they say Dr. Gatti. I am a member of the Church of Pentecost, and I'm a clinician. I'm a nurse. I work at Mesta Washington Hospital Center here in Washington, D.C., where I work as a patient care manager. For the purpose of today's topic, I want to add other things I do so you would understand why I'm talking about this tonight. I happen to be a member of the hospital's board of bioethics, and I also serve on the board of spiritual care. So yeah, this topic is something that I'm very interested in getting it out there. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gatti, for being on the program. And so today our topic is talking about end of life conversation. Most times in our community, we tend to shy away from that topic. We don't talk about it. That doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't exist. It just means that we are not preparing ourselves to deal with the situation. So today, Moment of Truth, really want to talk about the truth, because I always say the truth will set you free. And, you want to leave your family members knowing your wishes, knowing what you want them to do, because the hardest thing about anything at all is miscommunication. And when you don't have your wish out there, everybody try to, come up with their own idea. And at the end, you really create more problem. So our first question is, I think Dr. Gatti, just really give us just a little background of your experience of what you have seen before we really talk about the topic itself, or ask the questions.
That's very good. I mean, very interesting. Maybe I didn't add that in my introduction, but I'm a manager in critical care, which means I see the very sick people usually at the end of their journey here on earth. And I've seen the ethical challenges, dilemmas that both families and even the dying will be going through because of things that we didn't put right. And I think that is something that has inspired me to be thinking about this topic at this moment. So yes, in critical care, I get to see all these things a lot.
So our first question is, it is God who decides on the end of life. Why should mortal human beings try to insert ourselves into this picture? Because people say, oh, it's God will, it's God will. So if it's God will, why should I make a living will?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. And I know, looking at the background, and especially the community you are talking to tonight, this question probably resonates with them. Admittedly, it's a difficult conversation to have. That is why you notice that people don't talk about this. It's difficult. I mean, either way you look at it. But, somebody said that in life, two things are guaranteed, taxes and death. We are all going to die and we'll pay taxes. Of course, we are not here to talking about taxes tonight, but let's talk about the death part. Because we are all going to live here, we are, life is just like, driving in a highway, superhighway out there. And there are a lot of exits. And at some point you get to your exit, you leave the highway. You exit and you go home. Exactly like that. So at some point in our lives, we would exit. We're not made to be here forever. We're not designed to stay here forever. We grow, we decay, we die, and we leave. Even our Christian Bible itself makes it so clear that in Hebrews 9:27, it says that it is appointed unto man once to die, and after death, judgment. We don't talk about judgment here. That is for the old man above. But we can talk about the death part of it. And because death is inevitable, then it is good for us to, have a conversation about the part that we can control. How many years you spend here on earth, it's God who decides. But how you exit, you can have a say in that.
You know, it's so poignant the way you put it. Like life is like driving on a highway, and once you get your exit, you exit, and then you go home. It makes it so real, and it is a very difficult discussion to have, especially in our community. And so but fortunately or unfortunately, we need to have this conversation. So if it is this important to do, to plan for end of life, what happens then if you don't do it? So let's say, you're in the hospital, and sometimes patients can see, right, that they can kind of feel death coming. They can feel the doom coming on. What if you are in a situation like that? Or, even if you're not near death and you just have a hospital experience and you don't have any plan for end of life, what happens then? What happens to you? Does it even impact the treatment or that you get from the hospital? What does that look like?
That is a beautiful question. And again, every aspect of this is something that is practical that you would actually experience. And in the hospital, you can't believe how many people, the number of people for which this question would apply. A lot of people come in there, absolutely have nothing, no plan, nothing there. And what happens? You are dying. What would a hospital do? What would your doctors do? Yes. One thing I can guarantee you is that there are defaults, right? That means if you don't do anything, we default to something. It's known. You can do either of, you could have either of two things. And usually you hear that, what is your code status? You hear that very often, which means you are either going to be what we call a DNR, which is do not resuscitate, or you are going to be a full code. If you don't have instructions to say otherwise, we would default to a full code, which means that we'll do everything it takes to keep you alive. And that is what we do. On the other hand, if you have had a chance to have this conversation ahead of time, then you probably would have a do not resuscitate, or even a variant of it, like do not resuscitate with conditions, so that you can spell the conditions that, okay, I don't want to be, if my heart should stop beating, if I stop breathing, what happens to me? If you have full code, what we're going to do is that we're going to do what we call CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which essentially entails doing chest compressions and sometimes giving you electrical shock to restart your heart if it is indicated, and stuff like that. But if you are DNR, or do not resuscitate, then, if your heart has stopped, if you've stopped breathing, that is the definition of death. And so we let you pass peacefully. People might think that once you have DNR, it means we are not going to do anything. No, we do everything up until the time your heart stops. Then we will not do chest compression or do all those technological gymnastics to bring you back, to here.
I like the fact that you said, if you don't have anything in plan, we'll do everything we can. One of the things that I always think about is nobody literally will know when they are dying, or unless you're sick and you are, you don't want to die, but you're going to die. That is a, that's a given. But when should you start putting in a living will? Some people think when you are older, then you put in a living will. But an accident can happen at any given time. So when is it appropriate to sit down and say, this is my living will. This is what I want to do. Do not resuscitate, do not do this, do not do that. When is appropriate?
Thank you, Alberta. And the simple answer is that the appropriate time is today. Because you alluded in your statement that we have no idea. Nobody knows when they are going to exit from this superhighway. And so I don't think when your time is up, you have the ability to say that, okay, wait, now let me write down what I want you guys to do. Who knows? Perhaps at that point, you don't have the capacity to do that. And so it is the time is now. And we educate, encourage, and admonish everybody to have that conversation and then start it right away.
I think he said, how can I trust my doctors and nurses whose main goal may be to make money with such an important decision? Because a trust plays a huge factor in creating this living will. Who should you trust to be the benefactor or the executor of that will?
That is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, especially as Christians, we tend to have, think that the doctors don't have any right, or you can't even trust them. We say it's in the hands of God. And for which reason, and even the general community, they think that the doctors are out there to get us. They are out there to make money. They are out there to, do things that benefits them. Actually, it's not the case. Every clinician, every professional who is in this profession, together with even institutions that take care of the sick and vulnerable, are guided by strong bioethical principles. Those principles, in fact, there are 4 of them that are considered a baseline. And the 4 of them, the first one is called autonomy. The second one is beneficence. The third is non-maleficence. And the last is justice. I wish I had time to go into that, but let me give you just quick definitions. These are the guiding principles. Autonomy meaning that you have total control of your body. The doctor cannot force you to do anything that you don't want to do. You decide on what you want to do. And in fact, that ties into the fact that that's why we are saying that you have to make that decision, write it down, let somebody know, document it somewhere, delegate it to somebody, so that it is your wish that we are following. If you don't do that, then we go by these principles. The second principle out there is beneficence, which means that the doctors, the nurses, the clinicians, everybody is doing everything that is to your benefit. In other words, we cannot do something that would not benefit you. So if there is any technology, if there's anything we can do to, get you to your goals, that is what we have to do. It is as basic as anything. The third one is non-maleficence, which means that is the most popular. They say do no harm. So any and everything we are doing to you, we should know that it does not harm you in any way, especially emotionally. Because if you told me that, hey, I don't want you to do dialysis on me, and I say that, hey, if you don't do dialysis, your kidneys are failing, you are going to die, and I think that is good for you, and therefore I put you under dialysis. I may make you live, but I would have, inflicted a very damaging emotional thing on your brain, on your mindset. And so we don't do that. And then the third is justice. It's talking about fairness, equity. We share the booty and we share the burden, and make sure that everything we do is fair. Every medical institution, individual, everything is guided by these strong ethical principles. And being a member of the ethics board, I can guarantee that we really live to that.
So I have a follow-up to Na's question, and also a follow-up to a point that you made earlier. So earlier you made a point that if a person doesn't have the end of life plan, so the hospital may default to a full code, or you may do whatever possible to help the patient live. Now, can there be, or have there been situations where the healthcare team or the doctors and nurses have resulted to a DNR as the default, even though the patient does not have that as a plan? In other words, have there been situation where if the healthcare team deemed it that the person was not going to survive, can they default to a DNR?
Thank you, Doc. Good question. So yes, the team tries to, go as much as possible to your will and your wishes, right? So if you want us to do everything that is indicated to keep you alive, that is exactly what we do. Notice that this time I put the word everything that is indicated. The hospital or healthcare is not a restaurant service where you pick and choose. I want mayonnaise and I want tomato ketchup. And so even on the legal front, the doctor can be sued if they did something that they know that was not going to benefit you. So if it is not medically indicated, and the fact that you said we should do everything necessary to keep you here, we will do everything that is necessary and indicated. In other words, it could get to a point where you'll be demanding that I want my mom to be fed, even though we know that if you put tube feed into this old lady, poor old lady, it's going to back up into the lungs, right? But if you had a power of attorney and you insist that this is what I want, or somebody wrote that do everything, we are not going to do something that we deliberately, we know that it is not indicated. And so, yes, we get to that point where we allow, two attending doctors, and it depends on the jurisdiction where the facility is in. There are laws that will, guide them. But in some jurisdictions, you are two attendants, two doctors independently can confirm and come together and agree that, yes, at this point, we cannot offer this particular service to this patient. It is futile. And don't forget the ethical principle I said, that there is something called justice. There's something called beneficence. Let's say you want dialysis, when we know that at this point, dialysis will not help you. Mm-hmm. Don't forget that there's only limited resources in the community, which, everybody is drawing upon. So if the doctors know that dialysis is not indicated for you, but you insist, or your family is insisting that we give you, mm-hmm. we also have to think about the community at large and say, hey, are we doing this and harming somebody else because of your, maybe on unfair demand on this particular resource, community resource. So yes, there are times when two attendants or two doctors or, a team will come together and decide that this thing we are not offering, it is not indicated. But often in those cases, trust me, we always, it's just like customer service. We try to do your will, your as best as possible. Those are usually at the tail end of it.
That is good. I like the fact that you try your best. So why is it that it is important, for us to create that living will? Because I think in our community, because we don't talk about it, we don't address it, we don't think it's important. Do you think it's important to have the end of life discussion, to have a living will?
Thank you. I believe the answer is yes in caps. The technology has advanced. Medical technology is, jumping in leaps and bounds. So if you give us the chance, we can put you on a machine to keep your body here, you here forever, until somebody decides to pull some, plug somewhere. But is it for your quality of life? You know, and ultimately, are you going to live here forever? So the principle is that because of this advancement in biomedical engineering and all these things, a lot of studies have confirmed that the dying process at this point it's not, you know, often allowed to go in the optimum manner. In other words, they find it that it's sometimes unnecessarily prolonged, we inflict unnecessary pain to the dying. It's become super expensive. And there is this moral damage that we do to the person who is dying and even the family that are living when we prolong the inevitable. We know that it's going to happen. And so, look, studies have found out that a lot of people given the chance will say that I don't want to be a vegetative person, just let me go. Everybody, almost everybody say that. But when if you don't make the decision now, and it gets to that point, sometimes emotions overrun your judgment, and you are making crazy decisions when that time comes. Now that you have all your faculties, you have all your senses, you have everything, you know your wishes, you know what you like, you know what you don't like. We are saying that take time to write this thing down, discuss this, talk it over with your lawyer, talk it over with your family. Just like we do everything like we are going to write our will for our, estate. When it comes to our end of life, we just leave it there. I think we'll go into that details about that. But just to know that the process itself is not perfect, and you have to have an input into it so that you get it the way you want. Not the way, in fact, when you make the decision, it helps the doctors. They know your wish when they are taking care of you. It helps your family. They know your wish, what you want for yourself when they are making that decision. So now is the time. And I'm calling on everybody listening to us tonight to think about this, to start right away. It is not to say that we are saying that you are dying tomorrow. It is saying that it is something that is inevitable, and we have to all, take steps towards.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gatti. So this is Moment of Truth, and we're having the end of life discussion. Those discussions that you don't want to talk about. Nobody want to talk about, when I'm dying, what do I need to do? So today we are really talking about it because we know it's a need in our community. And whenever there's a need, we are challenged to really rise to the occasion. So thank you so much, Dr. Gatti, for taking this opportunity to really dig deep into this conversation. So our next question is, why will you spell out this particular important to our community? Because sometimes you have to spell it out. People just assume, but if you don't spell it out to people, they just glance through it and it just fall by the wayside. So can you really spell it out to people how important it is to really have this end of life discussion with their family and with their providers?
Thank you. Thank you so much. You make my life easy. The way you ask your questions, it helps me to give up the best out of the whole thing. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that in the United States, somewhere down the line, they decided to, they came up to this realization and decided to encourage people, right? Before 1991, they didn't have any laws that, governs this. But then somewhere in 1991, they passed this Patient Self-Determination Act, which essentially tells patients to have the, a say in how they exit here, and they, oblige the nursing home, the hospital, the home health aides, and all these agencies to, require or to ask patients or their clients to have this document. They introduce it to them, they give you the opportunity to make that and all this. And because of that, obviously, before 1991, there was research was saying that about 21% of Americans, only 21%, had some kind of living will. After this thing was passed, however, by 2007, that jumped almost doubled to like 50, 40, 50%. Now, you want to ask yourself, how many of these 40, 50% will be from our community? The research actually pointed out that majority of that 40% were white. Okay. And we are down the pecking order that even as Black immigrants were at the tail end of it, which means it hasn't caught fire in our community. We don't, maybe based on our belief systems or the fact that it's not, something part of our values, we are really lagging behind in those areas. And I think that is very important, an essential reason why we should reach out. I feel we should explain it to them. I feel we should let people know what is there. It is not like somebody saying that I'm tricking you to let you die early or something. It is just you having that autonomous ability to make that decision for yourself, to plan it, to have a say in it, to determine it, to direct somebody. So yes, our community really, really needs it at this point. It's not to say because there's COVID around, we are all going to die and blah, blah, blah. No. Either way, you need it. And I'm just saying that it is not designed to, all these conspiracy things that sometimes fly all over the place. It is not designed to, let you go quick or anything. No, it is your voice, and you must own it, you must use it, and you must let it count for you. So yes, if you are listening to me from wherever you may, I'm just trying to come to your home. I'm trying to let you know that, yes, this is important. Think about it, have that conversation, begin it today. Begin that conversation. Just to maybe to add to this, if you made it some determination or some decision today, you can change it tomorrow. You can change it anytime, just as in your will. It doesn't mean that, I'm just writing my own, no. Whatever you plan today, if tomorrow you wake up and you feel like, well, what was I thinking about last night? I just want to change it. You can always change it. So yes, it is, we recommend it. It is not anything to trick you into anything.
So Doc, this is a tough conversation by itself. And then when you bring it home into our community, it's even tougher, right? Like we can't have these conversations with the spouses looking suspiciously at us if we bring this conversation up. You can't really have it with parents because, in our community, it's sort of considered a taboo to even talk about death, but it is necessary. So if someone today listening to you has a change of heart, that they actually do want to do something about this, that they do want to have an end of life plan, they want to start this conversation, where do they start from? What options do they have? Where do they go? Who do you go to? Like, what are the resources and the options available for someone who's thinking about it?
Good. It's my hope that somebody has started thinking about it tonight, and therefore we should share this part of it if you have already started thinking about it. Yes, there are resources in there. Think about the fact that just like I said, you plan your estate, you are looking at your kids, your family, your spouse, and thinking, tomorrow if I'm not here, what happens to them? You are planning about the financial part, but you are not talking about your your passing part. Yes, that's why you have to have this conversation first with your family, second with your lawyer, possibly. You don't need a lawyer for this though. And then your provider, your doctor. This conversation should be known. And the essence is for us to know your will, the people around you to understand that this is his or her will. and then we'll be able to respect it to the T. So there is something called, of course, just as there is will, there's something called advanced directives for healthcare, which is, as the name,
I hope we'll get him back. Seems like he's frozen a little bit.
Technology is wonderful.
Yeah, when it works.
So Dr. Gatti was talking about advanced directive, and I believe his computer froze on him. So as we thinking and the technology is working through, when it comes to advanced directive, that is something that you really need to look at. It is individual. You can definitely make it individual based, so that way your advanced directive reflects what you need. Most times when you have that, that paper, you take it home and you read it. You have to literally look at it and just make sure. I think what really scares most people the most when it comes to advanced directive is when you are sick already. When you are sick already, looking at that paper make it so real. So sometimes I would tell people, even when you are well and you go for your checkup, ask for that paper so that way you can actually look at it. So Dr. Gatti is back and he's talking about the advanced directive. So Dr. Gatti, please tell us about advanced directive.
Okay. Yeah, so just as the name implied, advanced directives, it's just right there in the name. It's a legal term, but it is we giving somebody advanced information that when we get to that point, this is what I want. That is called advanced directives. It is also called a living will in some cases because, your ordinary will, it's only in effect after you are dead. This is a will which is in effect whilst you are still here. In fact, it's actually guiding you through your exit. So it is sometimes called advanced directives, or it's called a living will. But that is not everything. There is, it gives you, okay, let me just stay on that and say it gives you the ability to pick and choose. It's just like you go to the restaurant and like I said earlier, you pick and choose if I want this, if I get to this point, don't put any tube on me, don't hold me here any longer. If I'm gone, let me go. If this, let me, I need nutrition, don't put a tube in my throat. Everything you have a, right, as long as you have agency, you have, the ability to spell it out so that it doesn't default to somebody else. Let me give you an example. Sometimes we are thinking too far, but I've had situations where mommy is about to die. They have terminal illness, but mommy has some social security check that comes in. And child A wants mommy to hang around any longer so that those checks will continue to come. Child B feels that mommy is, suffering and I think she should go. Child C says that I'm the one that mommy would have loved me to make decisions, so why don't you listen to me? It gets into chaos. And guess who suffers? The patient, the one laying in the bed, the one with all the tubes coming out of them, that are suffering because perhaps mommy didn't make or daddy didn't make those determinations ahead of time. So that is where advanced directives come in. You have this thing written down. Many institutions have some form of it. They have paperwork that you can even take a pen and paper and write it down, put it somewhere, as long as somebody witnesses that it is your own decision and you did not make it under any coercion or anything. You write it down, it's binding. Let your doctor know about it, let your family know about it, it's binding. So there are various forms of it. When you go to any institution, like in the hospital or at a nursing home or whatever, they have some, they will ask you, say, hey, do you have advanced directives? Have you made your wishes known? We have a document here. There's a social worker here who can help you to fill one out. Do you want it? So it is all over. And I encourage people to look for it. But by all means, have the ability to have that say, because it will come sooner than you might think.
So
Thank you
Doc,
so much, Dr. Gatti.
if
And
you
there's a term that is called dual power of attorney. Can you also explain that, the dual
Yes.
power of attorney,
Yeah,
when it comes to the living will?
Yes, it's very, very, they are very, very intertwined. The durable power of attorney is, say you give somebody power of attorney, giving them the power to make the decision. So let me, go down a little bit on that. Let's say you have 5 kids, and you as a mom knows that kid number 3 is very, cool-headed. He knows a lot about these things, and I can trust them with this. In your advance directives, you might say that, okay, I just don't want to prolong my death here, just plain like that. But then you defer the detailed decision to whoever becomes your durable power of attorney. Somebody you say that in the time that I don't have agency, in the time that I don't have the ability or the capacity to do this, I'm incapacitated, I want this person to be the one who makes decisions on my behalf. That person is now your durable power of attorney. And that is the person, sometimes they call them the healthcare proxy. That is the person we go to. But let me just add something like that. If you throw it to them just like that, oh, this, I just defer it to Ajua Chirwa to make my decisions for me, it might get to a point that Ajua Chirwa herself will be challenged, because it gets to those hard decisions. And if you haven't spoken to Ajua Chirwa enough, she might not know exactly what you want, because what she will pick for herself perhaps might not be what you would have wanted for yourself. So even if you take a durable power of attorney, listen, I will say that let them talk to the person as much as possible to let them know what you want. Because you say that, hey, I know it, mommy never wanted this thing. And then they will make that decision, will make it easier for them to make that decision. Because again, I've had people, especially who work in healthcare, who, when their loved one were about to die, they were the ones to make decisions, right? Because usually families, people think that, okay, this is the person who knows about these medical stuff, so I'll make that person make decisions for me. Yes, because of their knowledge, sometimes it comes to bite you, because they feel like they know everything. They will be digging, I want this. No, you have to do this, you have to do that. And at some point, they will be making the decisions based on their emotions rather than their, intellect. You get what I mean? So when you bring emotions into these decisions, it's very difficult to make the right decision, because as you are doing all these things, mommy is suffering, daddy is suffering, that person is laying down, they can't talk to you, but they know what they are going through. And that is not a dignified death to me, in my view.
So, Doc, I started to ask a follow-up question to your point about the advanced directive. So you had mentioned a lot about, have something written down, but what if it's a situation where a person didn't really have the chance to actually write it down, right? But they verbalize their wish to somebody, a family member. Will that verbal wish hold at the bedside?
Good. Now, if they verbalize to somebody, and that somebody, let me take a step back. That somebody is, let's say, designated as a, healthcare proxy, then what they say is super binding. However, it could be that grandma didn't have anybody, they didn't officially make this person their, the durable power of attorney. The hospital or the institution talks to somebody in the family when you cannot talk to yourself. Usually there is a chain of default, right? If you are, let's say, you are married, your spouse automatically is the person we go to. If your spouse is not available, your children are the next person. If your children, these immediate family members are not there, it can even go to your pastor or to a close friend, who we think is making decisions in your interest. So there is, every state has a list of who we listen to. And if you have said this to somebody and you happen to be the one that is just we are talking to, we take what they say, that, oh, okay, you know your grandma, your mom, your dad better. And so what you say is what we go for. On the other hand, if let's say 5 kids, and one person is saying that mommy told me this, but then the other 4 are saying, no, we want the other pathway. We give you the opportunity to speak among yourself and come to some consensus. If it doesn't work out, we have the ethics board in the hospital for a reason. Sometimes we defer and refer these cases to them, and they will make a judgment, a determination to, at the end of the day, in the interest of the patient. So they will look at this, and there are so many ways they can feel and arrive at what is, in the best interest of the patient. And we have had to, deal with such conflicts, a lot. And so I believe there is a way out. Of course, sometimes we get to some which is just too difficult, but there's always a way out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gatti. So we are talking about, this is Moment of Truth, and we are talking about end of life conversation. Those conversations that it's not something that you sit around and talk about very often, but we are encouraging you to talk about it. Dr. Gatti says something I think is important. Sometimes your mind change. You may have done a living will maybe 10 years ago, and now you have reached a stage in your life that you think certain things you really don't want them to do. So this is when you have to go back and pick that paper up again and revamp it. Look at it again and just figure out some of the things that you don't need, some of your wishes that you really want to have people known. I think it's important, and we owe it to ourselves and our family members to make sure that we really address that issue. So Dr. Gatti, wishes, I think it's important to talk about the person wishes a lot. Most times we wish for things, but that necessarily mean that we get it. So if somebody have a wish and that wish, they agree as a family, a wish, what is it that we can do in the medical community? What can they do to make sure that those wishes are really followed through?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that question. Exactly. So we are getting home. Now you know your wishes. You know that at least you have some preferences. How do we make this, make sure that when you get there, this thing is, established? And the example I gave probably will illustrate that, because if you don't make, like the example that the question Dr. Prissy asked, if you don't make this thing known, you made it known to one person by the wrong person, perhaps it will not get to the forefront. But yes, you make these wishes by having that conversation. It is a difficult conversation, but it is a necessary conversation. You have to talk to the right people. Now you have to talk to your family, your loved ones. You have to talk to your doctor, let your doctor know what you are doing. Sometimes even your pastor. You have to let the right people come to know about it. And if you say you want, this, the doctor would write an order and have you fill out this paperwork. They have a copy on your medical records. You have a copy with you somewhere. If you are married, your spouse perhaps know about it. If not, it gets to a point. Sometimes I've had an example where somebody was taken to the emergency. They are, at end of life, and the husband or the spouse will say, well, I want you to do everything for my spouse. And then the doctor there pulls the medical record and say, hey, but she or he said that they don't want this. I tell you, at that point, what your wishes was, which is documented in the medical record, overrides everything. Unless you state the power of attorney can reverse it. Because at that point, if you don't have capacity, that person is the person who speaks. But if it's not like if you made your wishes known, you've documented it right there, then it's not difficult for people to make that determination. But I guess the bottom line is that this should give you the opportunity to answer those questions. That what kind of environment do I want to spend my end of life in? What kind of care do I need? What are my spiritual, physical, cultural belief that I want to be respected? things like that. Do I want all treatment? Do I want this and not that? You would have the opportunity to have that discussion with all the stakeholders, being your doctor, your family, even your pastor, or anybody, so that people would know that this is where the decision would have made for yourself.
Thank you, Doc. So since we're talking about end of life planning, and maybe we can use the next few minutes for us to break down hospice care, because when you think of end of life, we also see hospice thrown in there a lot. And can you tell us how that fits into the picture and what that looks like, and that's something that people, should even consider or think about if they are at that point where hospice becomes an option?
Yeah, we call it the H word. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to hear that. They said hospice, the word hospice. But yeah, it is in the equation here. Now, we established from the beginning that death is inevitable for every human being. So, although it's very unfortunate, we are going to get there. Who asked that question? So, in the process of all these things, let's say you are terminally ill. Let's say you have advanced dementia, end-stage renal, advanced cardiac disease, advanced liver disease, terminal liver disease or terminal cancer. There are so many diseases that we know that despite our best effort, perhaps we might not be able to cure you, right? And perhaps we can do your prognosis and say that you probably will be here for the next 5 to 6 months. Now, are they hard in stone? I mean, can anybody sit and say that, hey, you only have 2 months to live? It is just an objective assessment and a prediction. It doesn't mean that if I told you that you probably have 2 months to live, you wait until the second month and the date, boom, you are gone. No, you could die early or you could die maybe a year later. Yeah. But at least we using the objective data and whatever we have, we can make those predictions and assumptions. Now, it gets to a point when you have some of these terminal disease, and we know that we cannot cure you. Your cancer is spread so much so that we cannot bring you back. Nothing can help you out. It gets to a point where the team will pull you together and family and say, hey, at this point, let's talk about goals of care. And sit down and decide on what goal we are, because there is something called futility of care. That means if we did certain things, no matter what we did, we might be futile. And we have to think about the goals going forward, which means that it gets to a point when we say that we are going to transition your care from trying to cure you to trying to make you comfortable, to trying to make sure that we are dealing with all your symptoms. So you are going to live symptom-free. If it is pain-free. If it is breathing difficulties, get better breathing, for this time of your life. In that period, we don't stop you from enjoying life. We let you enjoy life to the max. But the goal is that we, deal with your symptoms so you can be as, the best you can be. And in that case, we have moved your goal of care from trying to cure you to trying to make you comfortable as you exit. That is comes under the term palliative care. That means we are taking care of all your symptoms, but we're not treating, to cure you. Now, hospice comes into the picture. Hospice actually is a service. Hospice is not a building. It's not a place. It is a service. What that service provides is giving you all resources available to you to achieve the goals I just said, the new goals for you, like making sure that your pain is controlled, making sure that you are breathing okay, making sure that everything that makes you uncomfortable is dealt with nicely. And hospice, you become eligible for hospice if your prognosis say that you probably will not, you'll be gone in about 6 months or less. If it is longer, you don't even qualify for hospice. But assuming you qualify for hospice, then, like I said, it's a service. As much as possible, we want you to have this period in your home with your family around you to, make life, comfortable as possible around your family. We want you to transition laying in your bed with your family surrounding you, holding your hands in a loving environment, respected environment, in a culturally sensitive environment, in the best possible way, compared to, laying in some ICU with machines blasting all over and restricted visiting hours and don't make noise and don't do this. And, we want to give you a dignified exit or dignified transition. And hospice comes in as a service which is specialized to provide all these services. And I said that the default is for us to have you go home and do this. So the service will bring all these things to you. Hospice often will bring you even a hospital bed to your home to make sure that the bed that you would have been laying on in the hospital, we carry it and bring it to your home. If you need oxygen, they bring oxygen tanks to your home. If you need whatever it takes to make you be with your to help you be with your family and to, enjoy your last few months, days, weeks, in the best possible way. They bring it to your home. So it's a service. There are situations, however, when the level of the care you need it's not possible to just establish it at home. In that case, you will be advised to go into a facility called inpatient hospice, because maybe the technology, you are on ventilator that your spouse or your kids cannot operate the ventilator or something. Then you go to a facility where they have the staff to get this done. But again, it's a dignified environment, as best as possible. Everything is relaxed. You can go there, your pastor, your clergy, everybody is a team that ensures that you are shown the most love possible before you exit. I believe some of you, either of you might have personal experience, what you've heard and what, hospice can do, because it's a service that as soon as somebody hears the H word, they think, oh yeah, they are knocking me out of here. They don't want to do anything and all that kind of thing. So if you have anything you can share on that, on top of that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gatti. You have really hit on the nails when it comes to hospice care and when it comes to end-of-life conversations. Our time is really fast spent. So I would say hospice care is a need in our community. As information goes, it's something that we really need to talk about it, because whenever they talk about it, people are intimidated by the concept or the service. So we don't even request it. So even when we are entitled to it, we don't ask for it. And I think it's important for us to know that the service is there, and when we need it, we should request for it. So thank you so much, Dr. Gatti. I just really want to encapsulate everything that you say. What is some key point that you want our viewers to know when it comes to end-of-life conversation? Just a key words that you want people to remember from our conversation today.
Thank you, and I would like that. Just if for nothing, just understand that end-of-life conversation is about you. That you are empowered to make the decision for yourself, rather than get to that point where you don't have the capacity to do it, and then people will be tossing here and there. That is the best gift you will be leaving with the people you are leaving behind. If you let them know your wish. It is the best gift you can give to them. Of course, you are writing your will to give them your house and all that, but letting them know what you want for yourself it's a good gift for them, so that they don't have to struggle. Again, the resources are there, and if you are going to do this, don't think that you are signing your death certificate. No, you are being empowered to make decisions for yourself up to the point that you exit this place. So don't look at it that way. And then we talked about hospice, and it's a service that is good. It's not somebody killing you or declaring that you are dead or something. for us in this community, we think that God will do a miracle. And yeah, part of God's miracle is saying God created everything and said it was good. He created life, a time to be born, and a time to die. That's what it says in Ecclesiastes. And that is part of all the things he said, it is good. So living, dying, is a good thing. God says so. And so we shouldn't see it as something bad.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gatti. For me, I just want a caveat on even our, one of the things people realize, if you live in every state, your driving license, they have like organ, you can donate your organ. That is something also that is all encompasses when it comes to end of life discussion that you need to discuss with your family, what to do with your, your body when you are done, so it is a conversation that we really, really need to have. And it is anytime is a good time to talk about it. So I definitely thank you so much for this opportunity. Dr. Kumsi, do you have anything to say?
Oh, I just like to say thank you so much. As you were talking, I was wondering if in your experience, you have seen anyone come out of hospice care before. Have you experienced that before?
So in critical care, and if you are going to go into hospital, typically you will leave, the hospital. But yes, there are stories about people who have lived beyond their 6 months, and if they can extend it, or they can give you the chance to go into the community if you want. So just like I said, hospital doesn't mean that they are stopping everything. Things that you need to, they will do it. But they want to make sure that the goal is not to cure you. So yes, some very few occasions, a few people have, gone beyond the hospice 6 months, and
that goes to our point that God is in the business of miracles, right?
Yes, He is.
Once you're in the hospice home or in a home, yes, the miracle was still not brought. And they can drop on you if God wants to.
That's right. Thank you so much. But this has been very enlightening, and thank you for helping us with this rather difficult conversation. And I hope that our viewers have gotten something out of it. And then this is gotten some people thinking about this conversation and possibly even to have a start. And thank you for all the resources that you've given as well, and also where to even start this conversation and where to go. I hope that when we get questions about this, we're able to send people your way to get more information about this whole topic. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gatti. We want to say thank you to our technician. Thank you for our viewers. Thank you for our sponsors. We are very lucky to be part of Church of Pentecost, and all of us are benefiting from that resources. So we just also want to say thank you to our national head, Apostle Marku, our regional head, Apostle Donko, and of course our district pastor, Pastor Ansa. And we just want to say thank you also for all that everybody does. Church is open. So if you want to go to church, you register to go to church. There's different events and different things that are going on within the church community. Be part of it. And of course, you can always watch it on Zoom. And I know that this Friday and Saturday, there's a program going on for the region and the district. And also there's a campus program that is going on, a national campus program that is going on. So log in, look for it, and you'll be able to register for it and be part of it, because we want to know that God is faithful. Our God is faithful, and our God is definitely in the business of keeping all of us healthy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any last minute stuff? Thank you. Bye.